Greetings to all who are present. Today I'm going to be discussing you've done what you've done. Now it's time to take a step back, look at what you've done, and then attack. When it comes to this specific topic, this has to do with you being in a space where, I already talked about how, don't force it a couple videos back. I already discussed how there is the right time to force things, and then there is the wrong time to force things, or times where not forcing it may be beneficial, in fact. But in regards to this video, this is when you're in a, let's say, experience or situation, let's say, where you can't necessarily force something, or you're not going to necessarily force something, or you can't necessarily not force something, or you're not going to necessarily not force something. You are not having the opportunity to necessarily do whatever it is that you need to do, so you need to take a step back. You've done what you've done, take a step back, and then attack. So it's just, I'm going to explain how this plays out when it comes to mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And not only am I going through this right now, but I know that other people will end up going through this as well, or already have gone through this stuff, or are going through this stuff as I'm speaking. So when it comes to taking a step back, you've done what you've done, and take a step back, then attack. It's like planning for the next move. Planning for your next steps in your path, planning for the next steps towards your success, planning to the next steps or the next stage in your journey, or the next stage or phase or part of your life that you're going to experience. When it comes to mentally, you have done what you've done as far as mentally. Do a recap, know what you've already done, know what you've already achieved, know what spaces you've been through, what states of mind you've been through, as far as leading up to this point that you're at right now. Now, take a step back, see the perspective of, okay, you've done what you've done, you've gone through what you've gone through as far as mentally. Right now, take a step back mentally and have a perspective of, okay, how can I view this? Let me recap, let me view this, take inventory of everything that I've done recently. And when I say you've done what you've done, I mean you've had these certain successes, you've had these certain, you could even have had failures, but let's say that you've been getting further and further away from failures and more in the direction of success. What other things have you done? When I say you've done what you've done, well, you've gone through certain experiences, you've gone through certain challenges, you've gone through certain difficult times. You've come out on top through those challenges. You come out on top better than you were before through those obstacles. You come out better than before through dealing with those difficult times. That's what I mean when I say you've done what you've done. Take inventory of the successes you've had. Take inventory of the achievements that you have made in the times leading up to the point where you're at a space when it comes to, okay, I need to take a step back because there's something that I need to do, but now I cannot do that immediately. I need to take a step back, and then therefore I can take a step back, then I can reattack. And so you've gone through all these things, you've done what you've done as far as mentally. You know that this is a time where you need to take a step back. Taking a step back when it comes to mentally, having that perspective, that holistic perspective of everything that you need to have the perspective of, or to take into perspective and be aware of, and be able to derive a sort of plan and a sort of message for yourself, which is, okay, now is not the time. I'm taking a step back right now, but mentally, how can I reattack when I do go to attack again? And what do I mean by reattack, or now's the time to attack? I mean resuming those actions, resuming those plans, resuming those actions, whether that be physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Just resuming that work, resuming that line of progress, that line of success, or whatever that may be that you're taking a step back from. When it comes to the things that you've done as far as mentally and being able to plan for the next move, you got to say, and you got to think to yourself, okay, mentally, how am I going to take this pause, take a step back? How am I going to do this to my best benefit when it comes to mentally taking a step back? And not only that, but how am I going to re-attack when it comes to mentally? Mentally, I'm going to, during this time of taking a step back, I'm going to remind myself and bring up mentally all the things that I've done, all the things that I've achieved, all the things that I've experienced, the growth that I've made when it comes to mentally. Therefore, this taking of a step back, or this pause or brief moment, or whatever that may be from said action or said activity or said mission, whatever that may be, being able to plan for that re-attack when it comes to mentally is saying and thinking to yourself, okay, after this space, I'm not going to allow this sort of hiatus or time away from said action or said thing that we're discussing to break me down. I'm only going to allow it to give me the time, the absolute space, rather space than time, but give me the space in order to recollect, in order to realize I've done what I've done when it comes to mentally. I'm recapping everything, reminding myself of everything that I've experienced and grown through and achieved and succeeded in when it comes to mentally. Therefore, after this space that I've had when it comes to mentally from said thing that we're discussing, boom, there you go. Now you have better ways to move about when it comes to mentally. Therefore, through experiencing that space that you have when it comes to mentally, you're able to, see it for what it is, and now you're able to attack better when it comes to mentally. You're able to say, okay, you've done what you've done, take a step back, and then re-attack. So mentally, you're going to be thinking about during your space that you have from said whatever it may be, you have time to structure your mentality and structure what it is that you need to do once you resume that action mentally. The mentality that you need to have once you resume that action when it comes to mentally. The mind state that you want to be in, or that you think you should be in, or that would be most beneficial towards resuming that action once you go back to that. Mentally being in that space where you're able to just go back to that action without much resistance whatsoever after having that break. And that's part of the process of recollecting and mentally having the perspective of, I've done what I've done when it comes to mentally. I'm taking a step back, and after this step back, then I can re-attack. And when it comes to mentally, you're going to be able to have that brief space however much space that it is that you need, or that has to be needed, because sometimes we're in situations where, we can't continuously do the thing that we have to do. Either you need a certain space from that, or a certain space from that is being just forced upon just by the circumstances of life and the circumstances in the universe that we are, dealing with. So you can't always just have the same day on copy and paste, and the same day on repeat, and the same action of putting in work in the same manner, or whatever that may be, because certain time, and this is what inspired me and sparked me to make this video, is that at one point in time, you're not going to be able to absolutely just do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. You can strive for that, and you can thrive while doing that, but at one point in time, you've done what you've done, take a step back, and then re-attack. That's the concept of this video. And when it comes to mentally being able to take that step back and being able to then plan for your re-attack, is doing everything that you have to do when it comes to mentally, making sure you're mentally strong during that time so that you can resume and that you can re-attack, making sure that you're mentally protected so that you can be strong and that you can re-attack, making sure that you're mentally balanced when it comes to your mental state of being and your mental state of well-being, and being able to use that space that you have, or being able to use that recollection of you've done what you've done in order to benefit you, in order to make sure that you're in a stronger, let's say, healthier, or you could say more mindful state of being when it comes to mentally. So keep on using your mental strength, keep on using your mental power, And that's how I even derived this concept to begin with, is having that, that mental perspective of, okay, I've done what I've done. Let me recollect. Let me take a step back so that as soon as I can reattack. Maybe I have to take a day, but during that day, or during that however much space that it is from that action or from that line of experiences, you are building that mental strength and that mental thought and thinking about every aspect about the return, every aspect about resuming that action, every aspect about reattacking, every aspect about that, so that you can move forward the best that you see, or the best that you think, the best that you mentally perceive, you being able to move forward from that point on. When it comes to physically, you've done what you've done, take a step back, then reattack. This is a topic that is, it's interesting, and it's not just a topic I'm making because, oh, I can't do what I want to do right now, so let me just make a video based upon what I'm going through. Sure, I'm making a video based upon what I'm going through because I'm learning from the life, but this is a concept that people deal with. Inevitably, you're going to be running into these situations, so I'm pretty much bringing up the fact that you're going to have to be in certain situations where you can't necessarily, like I said, have the same actions over and over again. Be doing the same physical things, putting in the same physical work over and over again. Life changes, certain things happen at certain times from day to day, and so therefore you most likely will have to deal with schedule changes. You'll have to deal with hiatuses. You'll have to deal with taking a break, or being able to be in a perspective where you say, okay, these are the things that I can see as far as physically, the things that I have managed to succeed in when it comes to physically, the things that I've achieved when it comes to physically. That's what I mean by you've done what you've done. Take inventory of that. This is what I can see from the work that I put in. I've made this progress. I have gotten to this space physically. I've gotten these certain things into my physical state of being, into my circle of existence as far as physically, by putting in the work, by doing what I have done when it comes to physically. Right now, even though I am eager and I am ready to, and I'm experiencing the step back from those actions and not being able to absolutely reach that at this moment, I am using this space that I have to physically recap, to physically take inventory of everything that I've done, what I've done. Therefore, I can take a step back, and then moving forward, I can reattack. In terms of physically, when it comes to, you've done what you've done, this is easy enough to see because you have physical proof of it. This is easy enough for you to be aware of because you can see it when it comes to physically, and you've done it when it comes to physically. You've experienced putting in that work when it comes to physically. You know how much you've had effort and how much hard work and how much dedication and how much discipline you've had to pour into said activity, said topic, said action, said activity, right? Said mission, said anything that we're talking about. You can apply this to anything. At the end of the day, this is just a concept that applies to everything and everyone experiencing everything in life. And if you guys like this soundtrack, it's the Hunter x Hunter original soundtrack. Those of you that haven't watched that show, it's a good show. It's an anime, and nonetheless, the soundtrack is really good. So I'm just playing that if you guys were curious as to what I'm playing. Of course, and most likely, it'll be copyrighted, so this video will get a copyright claim. But that's not really as important to get because if you get a copyright on YouTube, your channel won't get monetized just from that video. I can still work towards that goal regardless, but right now, as of now, that's not an important thing. What's more important is getting the knowledge out there, getting the wisdom out there in order to help people, in order to raise the awareness of those who are watching, not just me, but the interaction of viewer and presenter, or teacher and student, is the teacher learns, or the teacher teaches the student learns from the teacher. The teacher then learns better ways to teach from the learning that's done by the student, and vice versa. So it's a learning and a teaching process both ways. So that's of most importance. And I chose the soundtrack because, like I said, it's very good music. And nonetheless, when it comes to physically, I just hope you're enjoying the video, and I'm hoping that you're finding something that you can learn from. And if you are, show some support. Even comment what you did learn, or comment some other things that you'd like me to, let's say, discuss, or something that you want to discuss with me. Even comment that, whatever that may be. Be glad to hear. I'm open to sharing perspectives, as you know. And when it comes to physically experiencing that space, then being able to be in a state where you're okay physically, I'm taking a step back, I'm going to plan my re-attack. When it comes to me resuming to that activity, I'm going to be physically readily available. Physically, I'm going to be that much more enduring, or that much more persevering, you could say, when it comes to resuming that action. When it comes to my re-attack, it's going to be that much more stronger. Therefore, I'm using the space. I'm using the concept of you've done what you've done, take a step back, and then re-attack in order to muster even more strength when it comes to physically. Therefore, your re-attack is that much stronger. Your re-attack is that much more consistent. Your re-attack is that much more, you're that much more willing to stick to your re-attack. You're that much more willing to getting back into that action, getting back into whatever it is that you want to apply this concept towards. When it comes to the things that you need to plan for your re-attack when it comes to physically is, what actions are you going to do? What specific ways are you going to move when it comes to physically? How are you going to do things when it comes to resuming that action physically that you weren't necessarily doing before? In specific ways. How are you going to do the things that you were doing before your hiatus and resuming that action, but just in a better way when it comes to that? How are you going to update those? How are you going to make sure those things are constantly making progress or evolving those processes when it comes to physically? Being able to move the best of your ability when it comes to physically. And that's pretty much a big part of this concept is you've done what you've done, taking a step back, and then re-attack is like being able to master your ability and to take a step back. Therefore, your re-attack can be that much stronger. It's a good one. And that re-attack that you are going in towards is going to be that much stronger. You're going to be making that much more progress, that much more accomplishing things when it comes to your re-attack as far as physically. You're going to be that much more able to, stick to that path. You're going to be that much more able to be that much more successful, or if I already said that, or whatever, it doesn't matter. But the re-attack as far as physically is going to be that much more thought out of. It's going to be that much more strong in terms of physically, and your actions that you're going to put forth into your re-attack are going to be that much more, like I said, able to create more and more progress, more and more consistency, more and more, let's say, discipline or motivation through those actions, because you've had that space to recollect, to have the perspective of these are the things that you've done, and then these are the things that you're going to do. These are the things that you'll continue to do. You've done this, you've took an inventory of this. Maybe now is not the best time. Maybe you have to take a moment. You have to take a space away from these actions, a space physically where you need to do something else physically that is, let's say, pressing, or that is physically taking you away from that action or whatever that may be. Now use that as an opportunity to master your craft. Use that as an opportunity to push yourself along this journey, push yourself through your mission when it comes to physically. So don't look at it as a bad thing, like, oh, I cannot do what I need to do right now. Use it as a moment to recollect, to have the perspective that you've done what you've done in terms of physically. Take a step back when it comes to physically. Therefore, after taking that step back, then you can reattack. And that reattack, like I said, will be much more stronger, much more thought out, much more enduring, much more persevering. Therefore, you can continue on that path. You continue on putting in that progress. You can continue on putting in that work when it comes to physically. All right, so we've reached the halfway mark when it comes to this concept. As we speak, I'm very eager to get back to my reattack. I was a little hesitant at first, moving into emotionally. I was a little bit feeling like I don't want to change things up, or, I don't want this to force me, or I don't even want to take that space away from the path. I want to just keep putting in that work. I want to keep attacking at the goal in mind, and the goal in heart, and the goal in the reality that we're in, and then my spiritual goal as well, and the spiritual movement that my spirit should have through the actions that I'm going through. Sure, there was a little bit of resistance at first, of course. This concept is one that can push that resistance in the way of something being beneficial towards you. When it comes to, you've done what you've done as far as emotionally, you can say, okay, I've experienced these certain things emotionally, from the things that I've done already, from the progress that I've already made, from the accomplishments that I've already achieved. I have reaped this much when it comes to emotionally. I have felt this way about what I've done when it comes to emotionally. I've felt this certain way emotionally. I've gone through difficult emotions. I've gone through struggling emotions. I've gone through good emotions, high vibrational emotions, low vibrational emotions. I've gone through this. I've gone through that when it comes to emotionally. Using this as a moment to say, okay, let me take a break from even being so emotional, even being so overly emotional about certain things. Let me take a moment to, give grace towards my emotional state of being, seeing that it has gone through what it has gone through, and take a step back. You've done what you've done, take a step back, then reattack. Therefore, when you do reattack, you're most likely going to be, that much more emotionally balanced, that much more emotionally open and vulnerable to whatever it is that you're dealing with, that much more emotionally resistance toward the external stimuli that you're experiencing when it comes emotionally. Therefore, you can get back to that attack. You can get back to putting in that work. So, realizing you've done what you've done, you've overcome these things when it comes to emotionally. You've had hard things that have come your way that have affected you in certain ways. You've had difficult things. You've had, maybe things that have, put you on a path of not necessarily knowing how you feel as far as emotionally about a certain thing. But the fact of the matter being that you got through that, the fact of the matter being that you've done what you've done, you've gone through what you've gone through as far as emotionally, use it as an opportunity to take a step back, regain everything, become more balanced in the fact that you've gotten to where you've gotten when it comes to emotionally. Now you need to move forward, and through this space that you have away from the things that you've done and the things that you plan to do and that you can continue to do, be emotionally okay with that. Be emotionally all right with the fact that you certainly are aware that you want to get back to it right away. You don't want to have a break. You don't want to take a step back necessarily, but maybe use this as a good thing. When it's something that you have to absolutely go through, or something that you have to deal with, use it as an opportunity of growth. Use it as an opportunity to become emotionally, let's say, more wiser. Use it as an opportunity to become even more emotionally aware. Whatever that may be when it comes to taking a step back and planning for your reattack when it comes to emotionally. Say, I might not feel like, oh yeah, I'm on my path right now. I'm putting in that work when it comes to physically, mentally, and spiritually, and then emotionally I'm feeling like I truly am putting in the work. I'm right now being in my power when it comes emotionally and not being over emotional about it, and being able to be aware and having the perspective of, okay, let me take a step back and let me plan for my reattack. That way, I'm that much more stronger when it comes emotionally. I'm that much more in my power when it comes emotionally when I do resume these actions. Therefore, soon enough, I'll be there. I'll be feeling like I'm there. I will be feeling like I'm putting in the right work. I will be, let's say, putting in the emotional work, being able to do whatever it is that I need to do, and getting that that fulfillment when it comes to emotionally from putting in the work. So being all right and being able to be emotionally mature enough to have that break and have that switch up of, okay, I was so fixated on these actions previously. As soon as something comes and you can't necessarily do what you've been doing, or you can't necessarily follow that line of events that you've been on, or that momentum that you've had per se, don't get emotionally hard on yourself. Don't get emotionally depressed. Don't get emotionally down and out. Don't get emotionally disturbed. Don't get emotionally unbalanced or emotionally burdened by that situation. See it as, okay, I've done what I've done. I've experienced what I've experienced when it comes emotionally. I'm going to take a step back emotionally. I'm not going to be too over emotional. I'm not going to be difficult on myself right now. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to draw back when it comes emotionally. I'm going to have this perspective of everything that I've done, everything that I've gone through. Therefore, I can take a step back and I can organize and plan and prepare for my reattack. That way, that reattack is that much more stronger. That reattack is bringing everything from the progress that you've made, everything that you've done. You're bringing that momentum in towards this following experience, whether that be mentally, whether that be physically, whether that be emotionally or spiritually. You're bringing that momentum that you've had into these experiences. Therefore, you're using it as a process to help you along your path, a process of making you stronger along your path, a process of organizing your mental state of being, your physical, emotional, and spiritual state of being. Therefore, you're not just having a break and not just sitting around lazy in the mind, lazy physically, lazy emotionally, and lazy spiritually. You're actually going to use this time, use this space that you are given. In some situations, you may be pushed towards, or you could say forced, but really you have the choice of free will at all times. But sometimes, like I've said before on this channel, you have to make sacrifices. Sacrifices have to be made, whether that be mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. You're going to have to do that. And this is about using those opportunities, using those situations that you're in to most benefit you. Using that step back, using that recollection of the things that you've been through, using your perspective that you have to say, okay, mentally, I've done what I've done. Let me take a step back. Let me organize my reattack. Physically, I've done what I've done. Let me take a step back. Let me organize, prepare for my reattack. Spiritually, I've done what I've done. Let me organize, take a step back for my reattack. Being able to use that as a process to emotionally fulfill you, because you know that you're moving along your path, you know that you're progressing. Sure, things might not in the mind stimulate you the way that you need to if you were doing that action that you know that you wanted to continue doing. Possibly certain things, maybe physically you'll notice and you'll know that, oh, I didn't get to do this, I didn't get to continue on this, but certainly you're building that strength to get back to that when it comes to physically. So allow yourself to be emotionally fulfilled in regards to knowing that soon enough you'll be back towards that process. Maybe things might feel like oh, I'm so feeling on a very uh, I'm not on my high horse when it comes to emotionally right now because I didn't get to do what I needed to do, or um, I'm not able to progress in the path in this very moment, or on a specific thing in this very moment. Realizing that, okay, maybe that's a beneficial thing. Allow it to take a step back. Therefore, you can reorganize your reattack. Being able to be in a space when it comes to emotionally where you're not chaotic, you're not going haywire when it comes emotionally just because you had to take a step back, and just because you had to take a perspective of the things that you've gone through, the things that you've done, what you've done. And if that's a difficult thing to do, is to recollect that you've done what you've done in terms of fit mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and maybe that's something that you need to work on. Maybe that's something that you need to dive deeper into, because you shouldn't be in regret, you shouldn't be in much shame, or any sorts of things that are going to set you back or burden you when it comes to just recollecting what you've done as of recently. That's part of the process that's supposed to boost you. That's part of the process that's supposed to give you good mental experiences, give you good physical experiences, give you good emotional experiences, give you good spiritual experiences. Things that are supposed to make you more powerful physically, more powerful, or let's say more in your power when it comes to mentally. Experiences that should be bringing back up you being more in your power physically, more in your power emotionally, more in your power when it comes to spiritually. So this is a process that has to do with that. A process that has to do with recollecting that you've done what you've done, you've been where you've been, you've thought what you've thought, you use your mental state of being for what you used it for, you've used your body for what you've used it for, you physically put in the work physically for what you've done what you've done, you've emotionally felt what you've felt when it comes emotionally, and you've spiritually put in the work, you've spiritually been in this specific space, spiritually you've certainly been in these experiences, and these experiences that you've gone through, you've developed these specific spiritual systems. You've gone through this way in this way when it comes to spiritually. Moving on to spiritually, going through the experiences that we go through in life, and the things that we have to deal with when it comes to spiritually, being able to, have the perspective of, I've done what I've done, I've grown when it comes to spiritually, what I've grown, I've built what I've built when it comes to spiritually, I've reached these certain spaces when it comes to spiritually, I've achieved these certain things when it comes to spiritually, I've put in work, I've spiritually been on the right path, I've spiritually put work towards a certain mission, I've put work towards, when it comes to spiritually, a certain goal that I have, and being able to take inventory of that, being able to be aware of these things, be aware of these successes, be aware of these accomplishments, be aware of these awakenings, be aware of these spiritual systems that you've developed, being aware of these spiritual awakenings, like I've said already, being aware of this consciousness, awareness, the raise in that having to do with you on your spiritual path, having to do with you and your spiritual essence and the spiritual power that you consist of, and being the strong being that you are when it comes to being a spiritual being. So being able to recollect all that has occurred when it comes to spiritually, and being able to say, okay, let me take a step back, therefore I can, get towards my reattack when it comes to spiritually. Let me, even though, okay, mentally I can't be exactly on doing what I need to do right now. Physically, I can't exactly be doing what I need to do right now. Emotionally, I can't be exactly what I need to be doing right now. Or let's say mentally, I can't be exactly thinking what I need to be thinking right now. I can't physically be exactly in the place where I need to be right now, or doing the things that I need to be doing right now, or emotionally feeling what I need to be feeling right now, or emotionally reacting to the things that I need to be reacting to right now. But spiritually, you can always be in your power. At the end of the day, if you're a strong spirit, no matter what certain things you're dealing with mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you can put yourself in that space. Spiritually, you can know that you are where you are, and that you're benefiting from that when it comes to spiritually. So truthfully and factually, spiritually, you are always on your attack. You are always on your game when it comes to spiritually. If you're in your power when it comes to spiritually, if you're on your path when it comes to spiritually, if you're on your journey when it comes to spiritually, if you're reaching towards those goals that are part of your spiritual path and that are part of your spiritual purpose, when it comes to, putting in that work, when it comes to the attack as far as spiritually. And what I mean by the attack, I don't know if a lot of you are thinking, okay, you are looking at it in a super harsh way. You're calling it an attack when it's really just things that you're doing. Well, I mean the actual essence of it. It's something that you're going at. That's what I mean by an attack. It's something that you're mentally going at when it comes to mentally. It's something that you're physically going at when it comes to physically. It's something that you're emotionally going at. And you're dealing with. It's something that you're spiritually going at. And that's why I say it's an attack. I said that, you've done what you've done, take a step back, and then re-attack. It's just the concept. It's the concept that I chose because it has a catchphrase to it. It is catchy. Therefore, it's something that can stick better and it makes sense. It's not like it's, I'm just doing it because it's catchy and it doesn't make any logical sense. It's just because I feel like doing that, or I think it's cool, or whatever that may be. No, it has a catchphrase. Therefore, it can help to get you through whatever it is that you're going through. That's a little bit of spiritual wisdom, a little bit of spiritual knowledge right there. You need to find certain things that can, be the key, when it comes to a certain concept, when it comes to a certain spiritual system. It's not just wishful thinking. It's not only that, it's having the correct faith in yourself, having the correct faith in your mental state of being, correct faith in your physical state of being, the correct faith in your emotional state of being, and having the correct faith in you as a strong spirit and as the universe, as a spirit, and in the world, having the faith in God and whatever that may be that you have faith in. Being able to trust that 100% is, part of being so strong when it comes to spiritually. Being so strong emotionally, mentally, and physically is being able to have that faith and not just saying, oh, you know what? I don't think that's the right thing to do. I don't think that's the right thing to say. You know what, physically, I should have done it better in this way when it comes to physically. I'm not going to continue on doing that. Emotionally, I really don't feel like that's the right catchphrase. I really don't feel like that's the right concept. I really feel like that's phony. I really feel like, no, don't. That's the opposite of having faith. That is quite the opposite. That's quite the opposite of an attack as well. Going at something, that's necessarily allowing something external to you to have control over, whether it be your mental state of being, your physical, emotional, or spiritual state of being. That's a concept of being stronger when it comes to spiritually. So use this space that you have to gain that spiritual perspective, or let's say more spiritual perspective, or a more expanded spiritual perspective, because expansion when it comes to spiritually is you becoming more wise, you becoming more knowledgeable when it comes to spiritually. So therefore, use this space. You've done what you've done. Take a step back, and then spiritually be aware of everything. Therefore, you can go for your re-attack. You can go for your, and like I said, obviously, all times, you can spiritually be going at it, because at the end of the day, you're a spirit before you even got into your human form or your physical form that you're in. So, that goes without saying. It goes without being seen. It goes without being thought upon. It goes without being felt upon. That's just something that it is what it is when it comes to spiritually. So continue on. If you are in a space where you have to have some space from something, whether that be mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, have this concept help you out in a way where you've done what you've done. I've already said, recollect what you've done, take a step back, meaning be in that space in your power while being in that space. Take a step back, then re-attack, resume that, go back at that much better, that much stronger. Go back, attack that much harder when it comes to anything that you're dealing with physically, emotionally, and spiritually. When it comes to ending out the video and closing out the video, if I've said something that you've learned from, if I've said something to help you in this video, show some support. Other than that, thank you for viewing, thank you for being a part of this process. Catch you in the next one. I'm out.